So, sorry guys, I just blew my nose before I came on here. So yeah, it's called Potential Me, and there's no website. She cannot give you the 200 people's names that she placed into professional careers, and she instantly deleted that tweet once I asked her for more information on it. And then I said to her, why is the website working? She said to protect the people. Somehow she said that people are vulnerable, and that even me looking into this charity would make these women even more vulnerable. So she's using this I have to protect the women, which is such a tactic. Okay, give me the name of the corporations that you work with. 200 women being placed in jobs. She can't give me anything, and she basically then says, I'll have somebody look into your charity. Okay, it's called Blexit. Go for it. We have a whole website. We have employees. We do public filings. You do your thing. Go look into Blexit. So obviously, to me, I then searched the the Potential Me, and I see that she has a PayPal account, and the PayPal account says that she collects clothes and she sells them on eBay for profit, and then she gives the profit to women in need. So that's not what she says on Twitter. It's not what she says on her IRS filing. So why is there an eBay account that she's allegedly selling clothes on? And where is the money from that account? Because apparently she's only made $6,000 according to the 2014 filings. But the pictures look like she's picked up a ton of clothes. So in my head, I'm okay, she probably is running a little bit of a charitable scam. That was my thought. That's my opinion, where she's just picking up clothes and selling them on eBay and pocketing the money. And that's why she doesn't want to give me any names or anything, but who cares, right? This is petty stuff. In terms of the scheme of things, running a charitable scam for 10 years, it's bad, but it doesn't raise to the level of oh my God, this is crazy. So I asked her to come on the show, and she was very hesitant and said she was booked until August and said all this stuff. And so I asked her if September would be better. And when I said the word September, she freaked out, and it was so weird. And she was like, that's not funny. And I was like, what's not funny? You just said you were booked till August. Can you do September? And she said, oh, it was this whole legal battle I had. Never mind. Which brought me to find, after I was looking into her charity, a clip on The View, of all places, where Sunny Hostin is commenting on Kimberly Klacik, and she says, all I'm going to say is September. Is it September? I'm paraphrasing. Is it September? And I was like, what is with this word September? Why is this a Kimberly Klacik buzzword? So I do a little digging, and I find out that Kimberly Klacik was a stripper named September, and that her husband was the manager of the strip club. It's a strip club in the Baltimore region in Maryland, and allegedly they met stripping, and she was the person who helped bring a lot of strippers into this club. And so I thought, wow, this is really interesting, because this person attacked me and said that I am a bad look for the Black community. I'm not good for the Black community because I don't want to celebrate Juneteenth. And yet the debauchery that happens at a strip club, the vulnerable women that are at strip clubs, and the idea that you married someone who was the manager of the club, kind of seems like maybe something relative that Republicans should know. None of them know this. And you've raised $8.2 million talking about family values. And I researched to confirm that her husband was the manager of the club. It was an old listing in the Maryland page, Maryland white pages that had him listed as the manager of the club. So all of that checked out. And there were pictures of her in the strip club, a lot of pictures of her in the strip club, about 5 pictures, plus a stripper of her holding a picture of her holding a bunch of singles, which I will maybe post later. And she's just holding a bunch of ones, and she's in a very suggested outfit, and she's in front of the strip club, in front of the strip pole. So just seems a little off-brand for someone who has just said that, she supports family values and she really cares about Baltimore. If you really care about Baltimore, why are you in the inner cities doing this? Because we know what strip clubs are about. And that's not to say that you can't be a stripper and reform yourself, but this isn't that story, right? She's not like she's come out and talked about being a stripper, and she's upset that I'm not celebrating Juneteenth and is saying that I'm bad for the Black community. So I'm like, that's a little ironic, right? It's just a little bit ironic. Okay. So the person, because I wanted to confirm that she was a stripper before I put that, even put that out there, and I wasn't even sure if I was going to put it out there, I wanted to source where these pictures were coming from, and I came across another stripper who works at the club currently, and I just asked her outright, does Kimberly Klacik work at this club? Are these images doctored in any way? And the woman came back, and she's a very proud stripper, and she still strips. And she said they're 100% not doctored. I know her very well. I partied with her in the strip club. Like I worked with her in the strip club. Her and her husband have been scamming people for millions. And she said, and I'm going to be very strong, that there's no way that I, Candace Owens, can confirm this, but she said it to me in writing, that they used campaign money to do cocaine in the strip club. And she said I have all the receipts and I can prove it, sort of a thing. And I was like, whoa, okay, well that's different, because what this stripper is alleging would be a crime, obviously, and I can't possibly verify that information. Like, there's no way to verify that. Give me 1 second. I just need to literally blow my nose. Hold on. Sorry, I had a legit sneezing fest before I went on live, so I was like, I still need to blow my nose. Okay, so the stripper has now come and said she's got all the receipts, and this is now getting very dramatic in terms of this allegation that she uses campaign finances to do that. And that's a very serious allegation, because you're talking about people that are being corrupt with money, and you're talking about a lot of Republicans who got scammed. And this actually, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to report on the stripper thing, but then when she said the thing about using campaign money, I then kind of said to myself, what's really funny about what I immediately think about when I think about strip clubs, I think of money laundering. I think of people who hide money. Strip clubs, casinos are really the number one joints, if you will, that people use to launder money, because they're very, into cash. It's they're cash-based business. And so in my head, I thought to myself, okay, the charity was a bit weird. Seemed like a weird thing to have that wasn't going, so that seems a bit finance buggy, weird. And now we have the stripper claiming that she wasn't using her campaign funds appropriately. So obviously the next step, to me, the obvious step, and this is where it just gets crazy, insane, is let me just look at her filings. She just ran for Congress. I'm like, the stripper can't make this allegation. I should be able to see some weird spending on her FEC report. I now invite you all to pull up Kimberly Klasick's FEC disbursements report. You just have to go to literally fec.gov. It's very easy to use, probably the only easy website our government has. And you can look in the search bar and you can type in Kimberly Klasick. It'll pop up and it will show you every single dollar that she has spent in her campaign, because they have to. The irony being that there was all of this firestorm that the left was looking into her campaign financing, because she notoriously raised about $8.2 million because of that video of her strutting down the street. And it's a late game in life for a 40-year-old woman. She's 40 years old, decided she wants to run for Congress and be this vocal Republican. And she raised all of this money, and the Washington Post and all these people were looking into her finances, and they kept looking at this company that had gotten the most money out of her, $4 million. And it actually is a legit company. That's what they determined from all of this search. I know the company, I'm aware of it. So that actually wasn't shady. It was just that company got lucky because of the way that they structured the campaign. And they got a ton of money. And so the Washington Post kept looking at that company. And they never looked at any other company on her sheet. And I did. So the first thing that jumped out at me, I basically just sorted it by the most, the biggest checks that she wrote, and that were off at her company. And she pays her manager a ton. Okay, fine, totally fine, manager/treasurer. But the first thing that really jumped out at me on the FEC reports, again, you can look this up yourself, was that on November 5th, after the election, she wrote. They wrote off a disbursement for $119,000+ to Pearl Events. That was the name of the company. And if you look at the receipts, she wrote it as a meet and greet. So I don't know, maybe I'm just not rich enough. I can't fathom in my head why a meet and greet with a congressional candidate would cost $119,000. But I tried. In my head, I said, okay, maybe this is for the whole season, and this is the only firm she used, Pearl Events, and somehow they, are saying it's $109,000, which sounds like a scam to me, like Pearl Events. But then I look further down in her receipt, and she's got tons of meet and greets, and they all cost $1,000, $2,000. That sounds about right. $119,000 at the very end seems like you're trying to move money off the books to me, right? So I'm like, all right, well, let me look into Pearl Events. That seems like the next logical thing to do. Like, obviously, like, it's a business, so all you have to do, it says it's a Maryland company. She put the address of the Maryland company on there. And so I just looked up, I went to the Secretary of State website because all businesses have to file to maintain, like, their business registration. So I went onto the Maryland website and looked up Pearl Events. And what do I find? I find that this is a company that has been forfeited. It's not a real company. It did not, because it refused to file tax returns over years. Maryland revoked it. It's called forfeiting the company, so it's legally not a company. It doesn't exist, essentially. And yet but of course, if your company gets forfeited by the state, Secretary of State, your bank accounts don't magically close. So whoever's behind this, still has the bank accounts, and they have taken $119,000 from Kimberly Klasick for a meet and greet. Okay, so you're thinking maybe Candace, maybe Kim didn't know and she used this company, Pearl Events. Well, even more weird, I look into the registration of the company and the formation docs, which tells you what the purpose of the company is, and this company says it's about real estate. So I don't really know what this has to do with a meet and greet. This seems pretty shady. Let me see who signed these docs. Well, it turns out that even though this company is defunct, you can still look at the Articles of Incorporation. And the Articles of Incorporation indicate that the registered agent on this business is a man by the name of Dusky Holman. I swear, Dusky Holman. I know what you're thinking. You're like, Candace, this sounds like Better Call Saul. Really? That's what I was thinking. And if you look up, the address, it looks like a Better Call Saul. It looks like this is where Better Call Saul was filmed. So I'm like, Dusky Holman is a lawyer. I look it up. He's in Maryland. So I'm like, okay, well, this guy checks out. He's got his name on various things. It just sort of seems random, but at least he's a lawyer. And so apparently, lawyers don't do things that are bad, right? Wrong. So I then decide to look up this lawyer, and he is suspended. He's not a lawyer that is allowed to practice. So the business doesn't exist. It's been revoked by Maryland, and the lawyer is suspended. And yet she is given $119,000 after her election to this random company. So I asked her, I'm not even I say to her 1,000 times, I'm not here to try to take you down. I want answers. We deserve answers now, because this now went from you being really nasty to me on Twitter for no reason to this is potentially a federal crime, so you should answer. And I asked her about the stripper thing. I asked her about this random Dusky Holman Pearl Events that's not an event company but did a meet and greet that cost $190,000. She's just wild in the background, by the way. She's just saying oh, you're looking into me, things must be bad with you and your husband. And I'm like, okay, cool. Anyways, back to this Pearl Event. Ooh, and then she's like, oh, well, I'm gonna have people looking to flex it. I'm like, okay, cool, let's get back to the stripper claim. And she's just all over the place in the background, posting stuff and all that stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna stay calm and I'm gonna keep looking into this, because this is a potentially huge story if we're being scammed. So that entire thing makes no sense. And every single person who gave a single dollar to her campaign, plus any conservative, should demand an answer about